Hey gang, Geno V here, looking to talk about the most important life lesson that I learned early on that had the greatest effect on me for my career, my family relationships, my romantic relationships, and honestly, a lot of how I view this world. So, I've got to tell a story here. I started off as an engineer working for General Atomics, entry level engineer in San Diego, decent enough job getting out of school. I'm very grateful. I quickly moved within 9 months, pending some good career decisions and some certifications I got to the company General Dynamics, Ordnance and Tactical Systems, to be a staff engineer for one of their plants here in San Diego. And I played my cards right. I was really enthusiastic. I learned super quickly. I applied a lot of the concepts I had learned up until then to that job, including but not limited to, this first 6 months being crucial in any job. And I was so excited, wide eyed, bushy tailed, just a young dude trying his best. And, uh, people in the company started to talk, and I got a lot of exposure to the executive team, a lot of exposure to them because I'd work with one of the VPs super closely and present to the president and the rest of the executive team at least once a month, right? For the whole division. So this is like a national thing at this point. And after doing so well for so long, for a couple months, and them seeing the promise in me, they decided to sign me up for what was essentially the first steps in an executive training program, right? And they invested in me and hired out some consultants to come in, and along with a couple other leaders from my branch, we started taking these classes from these consultants. And I'm not going to go into the hyper specifics of it because obviously that's their information that the company paid for them to share. So I'm not just going to rip them off. But the general concept is universal that I think resonated so deeply with me and ideally will resonate as deeply with you guys. So here it goes, right? Emotional intelligence. I know it sounds like a fancy word that means nothing, but it's almost like a hidden world where once you can see it, everything changes. What do I mean by that? So they explained that humans are very funny decision makers, right? We are so logical and we have achieved so much, and the human brain has capacity for immense reason. And yet, put into stressful situations or otherwise, hormonally out of balance, whether you're tired or drunk or, you're stressed out from cortisol, from your coach yelling at you, or, your wife telling you that you got to go do a bunch of chores when you get home, whatever the case might be, your capacity to reason diminishes greatly. This is not an anecdote. It's just hard science, right? As cortisol goes up in the body, the human capacity for reason goes down, and it goes down fast, right? Well, why does that matter? Humans are, in today's day and age, the most stressed we've been in the modern era, despite having generally the most relaxed surroundings. Tigers aren't going to come out of somewhere and eat us randomly. My neighbor isn't going to randomly want my plot of land and come over and declare war on me and try to, starve me out and lay siege to my house. That doesn't really happen, not in the US. But a funny thing happens with humans is we equate that level of danger to modern scenarios. So when your boss is yelling at you, right, and you're in fear for your career, it triggers the same chemical response as if your life was in danger. Because in a roundabout, reasoned way, if your career's in jeopardy, well, then your, sustenance and how you're going to pay for your house and your kids' food and your way of life might be threatened, right? So we equate it, but we equate it in a very strong, physically important thing insofar as like there's no lion, your boss is not going to rip your head off, right? Literally. The lion's not going to eat you. There's no issue of starvation now either. We have the issue of obesity actually in the US. So we've gone on the other side of it. But the point being, our brains hijack this chemical response and equate it to that level of stress. But the problem is the type of things that stress us out now don't go away. Your fear of you losing your job sticks around for hours of the day as long as you want to think about it, and it can follow you home. When you had the problem with the lion and the tiger might eat you or whatever, okay, when you left the area and you're in a cave safe and you got it blocked off or you got guards or you're in a home, that fear goes away, right? You have removed yourself from the situation and it's highly unlikely that they'll get the jump on you again. You don't have to be worried about a lion jumping out of the bushes when you can see for 3 miles in every direction, right? That's fair. But you can't do that with your work. And most people don't even recognize that that's the type of chemical reaction going on in your body when this stuff happens. So why was this the most important thing that I've learned so far in my career? Well, because I've realized that you don't need to be the smartest guy in the room. You don't need to be intelligent. You don't need to be a genius. You don't have to have all the solutions. You just have to be able to keep your reasoning brain reasoning. Important decisions are made under duress because they're important decisions for a reason, be it for a company, a relationship, a product, anything, right? They become stressful because they're so important. You look to your wife, where are we going to live? Where are we going to send the kids to school? How are we going to afford all these things? Or in work, how are we going to budget this project? How are we going to meet that deadline? How are we going to sell this to a VP? All of those things elicit a stress response, right? And the problem with that is that that was designed to get us running, punching, or freezing and hiding, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. Well, that's great, but none of those help with any of the new problems. Punching your boss in the face doesn't help. Running away from your boss and crying in the corner doesn't help. And freezing and trying to see if, he has motion vision like a T-Rex or something and seeing if that works, like he just ignores you and moves on, that doesn't work either. Can you imagine if every time your wife asks you something stressful, you either, ran away or froze and just tried to see if she'd go away? That doesn't work. And yet we're wired to be that way. So the problem therein lies that your capacity to reason is diminished greatly because it's trying to steer you towards fight, flight, freeze. But that doesn't work anymore. We are working in a different era, and our evolutionary biology has not caught up to how fast everything's changing. Tech has changed everything. Technology has changed everything. The internet, digitization, social media. Our bodies don't have time to adapt. We don't have time to evolve into these new things, which means you have to override your base chemical reactions using your reason. And it is possible. It is possible to not trigger that stress response in the face of those generally stressful things, or at the very least mitigate it, cap it, and move on. You can do that. It's a practice. It's a skill, right? And these consultants, to get back to the general dynamics, coaching to be a VP leadership thing, would teach us all about that. How to do that, why you want to do that, what the added benefits of doing that are. And it's like I opened my eyes. It's like the whole world existed and I was walking around it with my eyes closed. I had my sense of touch. I had my sense of smell. I could taste things, but I couldn't see. And as soon as they talked to me about this and I started doing my own research into emotional intelligence books and concepts and all these different things, my eyes were opened, right? It's a whole new world. Even looking at people and places and meetings under the lens of emotional intelligence, stress responses, and capacity for thought is a completely different game. When you see somebody and you see them start to shut down or elicit the stress responses, you can see them starting to engage fight, flight, freeze, right? And their capacity to reason goes out the window. Do you think they're going to make a good response to whatever the situation is? Probably not. Are they going to make the best choice? Absolutely not, right? The same thing happens to you. Every time you get stressed out, which again, every important decision generally elicits a stressful response because it's important to you. Well, then, you're doomed to make suboptimal decisions at every key point in your life. That's terrible. Imagine if you had your full capacity of reasoning every time you approached a difficult topic of conversation or choice, and so you were able to choose the best response or even the top 5%. What do you think your life looks like after 1 year of making top 5% decisions every time you're faced with a critical choice? What do you think your life looks like after a year? 5 years? A decade? I have been trying my best to make those top 5% decisions since I learned about that topic. And I have to tell you guys, it has been such a different life holistically, not just with work. Such a different life now that I've learned that. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. That has absolutely been a huge contributor in my success in my career so far. How did I become director of a company, of a $1 billion company at 23, 24? Well, I'm not a super genius, but I am now able to keep a clear head in stressful times. I don't let my cortisol run rampant. I don't let my reasoning, my capacity for reasoning shut down. And if I do, I recognize it. I know I'm not in the spot to be answering these things. And I purposefully choose to delay the answer. Geno, we need an answer now. I'm not thinking clearly. I'll give it to you tomorrow. See ya. Or sometimes you have to make a much faster choice. And there's a trick to be done with that to actually help you make a quicker choice, even when you are stressed out. But that's a topic for another day. The point being, this is absolutely the most valuable life lesson I have learned these last 10 years in my career. I don't know why nobody talks about it. And I mean, once upon a time, I was a type of person that would have just dismissed that. Fugazi, that's just BS talk from some social engineering people. I'm a real engineer. I like numbers and data, you know? Well, this is literal chemistry and evolutionary biology. It's how humans are. So if you can think about it, practice it, and work towards it, you can achieve so much more purely from having, excuse me, purely from having a clearer mind. That's it. It's like you walk in with, 20 options into a meeting, and your job is just to hold on to your 20 option. Don't let people take them from you. Don't let people piss you off. Don't let them get under your skin. Don't get triggered. And if you do, recognize that you're not in the best of spots and purposefully delay the decision. Let's look over the data, guys. We'll do it later. Or should we buy a house here? Should we buy this house? Oh, I don't know. Can our kids go to this school? Is it better? The walking distance, the property value, is the roof okay? How's the foundation doing? Give it a day. Give it a day. Cooler heads prevail, not because they're smarter, but because they retained all of their wits, right? Keep your wits about you. Well, the easiest way to keep your wits, and all of them, was just don't let yourself get psyched out. Don't get stressed out, okay? Easier said than done, and there's ways to do that. But today I just wanted to cover the concept of that exists, that a lot of people study it and track it, and that's, to me, the secret in making these great decisions. Because if you consistently make great decisions, in 10 years, you will have the life you always dreamed of, or at the very least be well on your way to achieving it, right? Not all decisions are created equal, guys. There is a better choice, and there is, given some certain options, a best choice. And you're more likely to find that if you don't get stressed out, if you are emotionally intelligent, and you do have a good grasp on your own physiognomy, your own chemical basis, your own hormones. All right? That's the topic for today. I've covered that with so many of my friends, and they keep coming back to it and asking me for more details and how you do it and how you look at it, because it really is the basis of everything else. The other things I can talk about, or the advice I'd give, or the things that have helped me in my life and career so far, pale in comparison to that one. Because if you don't have that one, all of it else goes out the window. Everything else I can talk about is how to better reason. But if your entire capacity to reason is thrown out the window the second a stressful thing comes up, which again is every important decision, then it doesn't matter, right? It's like saying, well, I'm going to have the fastest car. Yeah, but if your car never showed up to the race, it doesn't matter, right? You could have the fastest Ferrari, but if you couldn't get it, to the racetrack to race, then it doesn't matter. It's the exact same thing. I could have the shittiest Nissan. I like Nissan. I have a Nissan truck, but that's the analogy, right? I could have the most old, beat up, unreliable Nissan that, you know, underprepared. I don't know anything about the topics, and I get into my truck for the race, and the other guy could have a Formula One car, right? But if the Formula One car doesn't even show up to the race, I win by default. That's what this is like, guys. You don't have to be a mega genius. You just have to be able to actually race. Okay. And when everyone else is losing their shit and making poor decisions in stocks and investments, in real estate, in family, in relationships, in moral decision making, God forbid, right? They make a poor moral decision. We're all subject to that. It's because you got overloaded either by cortisol or some other hormone and you were not thinking as clearly as you should. You got to keep that under control. So that's the most important life lesson I've learned recently. Do you guys have anything worth hearing? Would love to hear what you guys are up to. This is going to be the style of this channel. This channel is all about my life lessons, the things I talk about with my homies, and the things that they come to me to give advice on. Laid back, calm, cool, chill, grab a beer, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Geno out.